Paul Barron interviews the Kwok brothers. A lot of conversation about Ripple XRP and XRP's price here in the future. Also, Ondo says in 7 days, US markets become truly global. What is happening here? I have the answers. You have to hear what's going on. Crypto Erie has some updates and news. We're also going to look at some other stuff towards the back on Ripple and XRP, but let's start here.
And this goes back to my final question to you, Dom, is, you had, I think it was $1,000 price thesis. Was it based on the Swift model starting to shift, the growth of the XRP ledger, or potentially the growth of stablecoin, or kind of a combination of all?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question, and a lot of people asked for the sort of more detailed explanation, which I'm currently, working on sort of putting out. But I think, for the purpose of this, at a high level at least, it's a combination of all of them. Obviously, Swift is a big component, but then a lot of it is actually driven by the use cases that we're actually seeing on the ground, in person, in real life. All of these incredible projects that are coming out and actually utilizing the XRP ledger in different ways. Obviously, DeFi and finance are a huge, use case. But then also, like I was talking about before, billions and billions are transferred internationally from, people in the US to people abroad, both in terms of business, remittances, but then also in terms of charity and all sorts of use cases. And ultimately, when those applications really start to get used on an institutional level, that's really where you start to see not only more activity on the XRP ledger, obviously a huge, multiple times explosion, but also you start to see people focused more in terms of just, retail, looking at the tech underlying it. That's why companies like NVIDIA, for example, have seen, 1,000-fold increases in the price, is because, retail start to come and they start to see, AI is really taking off now. What's the best way I can actually invest in that? It's through the products that NVIDIA makes. And so ultimately, I think, that's going to be a really interesting part of the whole story, is when, those sort of 93% of people, obviously, less accounting people who don't have access to the internet, etc. But, that huge proportion of people who don't currently own crypto come into the space and, figure out that XRP exists.
Really quickly, in the beginning, he asked him, because he gave a price prediction of $1,000 per XRP by 2030. So when he gave that prediction, I was thinking in the back of my head, like, man, this guy's a developer. He's been in the space. He sounds really intelligent. One of these guys is like summa cum laude, brilliant person, right? I think they both are really, really smart people. But like, I was wondering, like, what is backing up that $1,000 prediction, right? What is the model he is using to get to that number? Was it just something that he threw out there for views and clicks? And it sounds like he said that he's putting it together. Maybe I'm just being a little snooty here, but like, wouldn't you have this already together? Like, if you're going out on a TV, you're an interview, you're promoting your company here in front of the whole world, have the information ready, right? Because like, we are waiting for how you got to this $1,000 and what needs to happen in order to do this. Anyways, let's keep going.
And you've got the
pressure upwards on the price.
Exactly. You got obviously the ETFs, but I think also the professional money managers will start to see it.
Exactly.
Digital assets in general. And it
and
changes
it'll really benefit.
Outlook.
It'll really benefit, the top 10, I think, and obviously the top 5, we'll see the biggest increases, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, etc. But then also, the fund managers don't often like to delve really far down, and take more speculative bets. So the ones with the most volume, the tokens, that look the most attractive to them, will be naturally the ones on the top of that coin market cap list, so to speak.
Maybe I'm just being a little picky, but if you're going to come out and you're going to try to be like one of the leader in the space and you're developing this big project and, you have millions of people looking at you, like, let's have some of that data ready so we can like figure out, at least when Jake gives his price prediction, he says this, and this needs to happen, right? You're like, okay, I can understand that. Right? I get that. I get where you're coming from with these prices because you just explained it. I need some explanation from my man here. All right, here's another clip. The Kwok brothers just dropped a major alpha on Paul's podcast. Let's listen.
So for sure. I just showed Canary Capital announcing their XRP Solana ADA. This was like their American-made crypto thing. We had Stephen on last week. Great conversation. But Stephen made a very big statement. And his statement was he believed that XRP, their ETF, would be the biggest ETF yet in all of crypto. Dom, I'll start with you. Do you agree with that in terms of inflows? This is just in reference to inflows.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would agree with that. I think, even if you just look at the XRP holder base, it's so big. And, I think XRP volumes, some of the highest on Coinbase, and the trading volumes are really the highest on many of the different exchanges, or amongst at least the top three after Bitcoin, and I think even just after Bitcoin actually in the most recent Coinbase report. But Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP, those are the definitely the most liquid ones and most traded names. And I think, people who don't hold crypto and who don't sort of have.
All right, maybe these people are growing on me, but hold on. So the claim was the Canary Capital CEO said that the XRP ETF that they will get approved here, the spot ETF, will be the biggest that their companies has ever done. So my mind was like, what other ETFs have they launched? And so Canary Trump Coin ETF, Canary Staked Injective ETF. Oh, okay. So they didn't file a Bitcoin or Ethereum. This is why they're saying that this is going to be the biggest ETF that they've launched. I get it, right? You don't have Bitcoin, you don't have Ethereum. Yeah, of course XRP is going to beat out Injective and Trump Coin ETF. What are you doing? Oh, sorry. I was expecting to see like a Solana or, something. I wasn't expecting to see this. So that is interesting. Okay, cool, man. Whatever. Right on. 7 days, U.S. markets become truly global. What does this mean? Ando, what you talking about here? I got it. In 7 days, on September 3rd, 2025, Ondo Finance will launch its own global markets platform, enabling access outside of the U.S. to tokenize U.S. stocks, ETFs, bonds via blockchain, allowing 24/7 trading, fractional ownership, and non-U.S. investors. Ondo's global reach and markets. Ondo's global reach is tokenization platform, bringing thousands of U.S. listed securities, whether stocks, ETFs, and bonds, on chain for worldwide access, except U.S. residents. Ooh, that sucks. I'd imagine they're going to need regulation in order to do this, probably, right? Because they're going to be offering all kinds of different products, and until you have regulation and you know what's what, they can't really do it to U.S. The platform offers instant minting and redemption of tokenized securities using stablecoins. Are free, and tokens are freely transferable using DeFi with no platform lock-in. So this is really unique, right? An example here of what I'm thinking how this is, when you buy a treasury bill, right? Whether you 6 months or a year, whatever the length is, you're locking that money up, you're giving that money to the government. They give you this bond and they pay, a dividend on the bond. Once the bond expires, you get your money back plus the interest that you earned. Being able to do this through like money market funds, you're going to be able to get an even more higher percent interest, and you're going to be able to make this 24/7 tradable. So let's say that you are halfway through and you needed to get some of that money back. Something happened in your life, or you just want to invest in something else. You're going to be able to take that actual token and trade it real time, 24/7, 365. You don't have to wait for markets to be open or closed. Now you can do some of this stuff with the traditional systems, but it needs to be Monday through Friday, 9 to 3 o'clock. And anyways, 24/7, 365 accessibility. Non-US investors can gain exposure and trade US securities anytime, overcoming national market hours and barriers. Like, this is the biggest problem. Say you live in England, right? Or Europe. By the time you are waking up, American markets are closed, right? By the time you're going to sleep, they're just opening. So sometimes people stay up all night to trade these markets. This will allow them to get access to these markets anytime, anywhere. You don't have to, some of these people, these traders can actually start sleeping in maybe. Fractional ownership, investors can buy portions of equities or ETFs, democratizing access to high value US assets. So, if you are in a country and it's difficult for you to save in the currency of that country due to inflation or whatever the reason is, right? You want to start investing in something that you feel is more secure. So you're looking at US stocks and bonds and these types of things. If you can't afford an entire stock of, let's say, Tesla stock or Nvidia stock, you could buy a fractional share of a quarter of a share or half a share. This is really going to open up all kinds of access and level the playing field across the world for everybody, which I think is going to be extremely beneficial. And you notice how crypto is really starting to serve the US markets here. I mean, obviously they have to wait for regulation to come in here, but they're opening the rest of the world to US markets 24/7, 365. And if you look at any major stablecoin in the crypto market, 99% of stablecoins in the crypto market are US dollar backed. So am I crazy to say that crypto is kind of saving the US dollar right now? And the US needs crypto more than the rest of the world does? It kind of feels like that in my heart, in my soul. But you let me know if I'm a little off on that. Crypto Eerie says researchers waiting to do due diligence on leak logos which choose the XRP ledger for their digital strategy. Please do so in Chinese. Here is your starter. licensed money transmitters in BIS project with Standard Charter, added 244 core enterprise and financial institution clients to its supply chain solutions. Total number of clients, 1,352, a 22% increase compared to 2024. The company has helped 380,000 small to medium-sized enterprises access digital inclusive fintech services. August 26, RMB 203.6 billion total revenue. Productivity lays out global supply chain applications for scenarios based on compliant stablecoins, and she provided the links. Crypto Erie always does a stellar job, and glad to have her. Now, I don't know who this person is. Big Sean, Crypto Bitlord posted this. Big Sean is telling people to buy crypto, mentions, well, here, I'll just let him.
And if it is one time that I'm going to say this, crypto, and if it is one time that I'm going to say this is not, you're not too late. Invest in crypto right now. Tonight if you can. Like, do that shit tonight. You're going to get a return from it. You know, Bitcoin is a good one. Ethereum. What's the other one you said? Ripple. Invest in that shit. I'm telling y'all right now, this is a quick flip. Do it tonight. It's about to go, you know.
It's a quick flip. Some of us are here for the long term, but I get the quick flip. The interesting part of here is I'd imagine this is probably the younger generation likes this person's music or whatever they are doing, but you don't hear all of these artists saying, you know, go buy stocks, right? That's what you should do with your time. People are like, go buy crypto. And more young people are like, yeah, crypto, crypto makes sense to me. I can connect with it. I can understand it. I've been on an iPhone since I was 1 year old, right? I know this stuff. This is going to be beneficial for younger generations to build wealth extremely quickly over the next 5 or 10 years. I wish I would have known about crypto 10 or 12 years ago. I'd probably be a billionaire by now, buying Bitcoin at stupid prices, and then Ethereum, and then of course XRP. But you know, we get in when we get in, and that's when we got to catch up, learn as much as we can, and grow as quickly as possible. Now, Armando Pantoja has this clip here talking about a 10,000 XRP, saying most people get it flipped with market cap. All good. Let's listen to what he has to say.
I think XRP will hit $10,000 one day. People always ask that, and it potentially can. And people always come back and say the market cap argument. The market cap is not a true representation because money flows into crypto a lot differently. The market cap is not a representation of money flowing into crypto. It's only a representation of what it's worth. So a lot less money has to flow into XRP to push the price up. A few billion over a few weeks, it will push it over $10, $15.
Wow, just from a few billion?
Yeah, over a shorter period of time, though. I really believe in XRP because I believe the government artificially kept it down for years. That's the reason why we've seen a rapid growth in XRP since the Trump administration, because some of those artificial restrictions are being lifted off of XRP.
Right.
So it's still a lot of room to grow, and there's still a lot of potential going forward with XRP. Whenever something's been held back, you see the growth. It's going to happen regardless, but it happens rapidly over a short period of time.
Interesting. Remember, anytime you have a market cap multiplier, it isn't indefinite, right? It isn't all the time. Once you get to a certain level, that market cap multiplier won't be 100 or 500x. It'll be 50x, then it'll be 25x, it'll be 10x, it'll be 5x, right? It'll slowly get withered down. You look at Bitcoin right now, and the market cap multiplier for Bitcoin is only, I think, 5 to 10 at this point, depending on the day and the inflows and outflows. So it's not, you know, still going to take a whole lot of money to get to a $10,000 XRP, and XRP would have to represent a lot of the world's value. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to see it, but to get there, we are talking about a lot of bad things happening to the world, and everybody moving to XRP and using Ripple solutions to jumpstart the world's financial system and liquidity again. I'm not saying that this is impossible. I'm saying that this could take a very long time. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for being here. Have a fantastic week. It's a real honor to spend this time with you. Thank you.